Hi there, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the first in our six-part series around protecting your loan workers. We're looking forward to giving you an insight on loan worker protection based on years of experience working with them at Pick Protection and have several aims throughout this course. In this video, we'll help you identify who your loan workers are, then we'll look at what your legal obligation is to them. Next, we'll explore the type of risks they face and how to plan and lessen these risks. And finally, we'll look at some next steps for you and your organisation. Each video will include written information if you prefer to have something to read and come back to. And if you have any questions for us, please leave a comment below or drop us a line on our website, pickprotection.com. Okay, without further ado, let's make a start on our first video. Who are loan workers? A loan worker is exactly who you'd think they would be, but with one very important addition from the Health and Safety Executive. Yes, a lone worker is someone who works alone. That's kind of obvious. But the HSE definition goes further than that and describes a lone worker as someone who performs tasks in isolation without close or direct supervision. By that definition, a team member of yours might not really be completely on their own throughout their working day or shift, but there might be times when they're away from others performing a specific task. It's vital that you think about these people on your workforce because they might not even be doing a job that you would typically think of as hazardous. But because they're going it alone, they are naturally at a greater risk. Let's look at a few examples of the kind of lone workers you might find in your organisation. Let's say you have someone who works in a shop and you've carried out a risk assessment to say that there is a likelihood that they will face aggression in the job. Don't worry, we will come on to risk assessments later on in this series. These workers are more likely to face aggression if they're alone, as they are an easier target than if they were working with others. Another example is someone who likes to work late in the office or locks up. Slips, trips and falls are the most common type of injury reported by the HSE year on year. The risk of someone falling down the stairs isn't greater because they're on their own, but it could lead to a more serious injury if they don't get the help they need right away because no one was there to call for help. Personal safety is also a common concern for people who go into the homes of others for a meeting or appointment. They might be housing officers, gas engineers, or hairstylists. When you take away the lone worker label and actually really think about who performs tasks in isolation at any one time, you begin to realise that there are probably far more lone workers on your workforce than you first thought, even if they are just your team members who work from home on their own. Identifying that you have lone workers is the first step to protecting them against potential risks. We'll talk about how to create a risk assessment in more detail in our fourth video, but for now, have a think about your staff and ask yourself these questions. Who works in isolation without anyone close by? This might even be in the same building, but if they're on their own and nobody is nearby to help if they're in trouble, then there's a greater risk of them not getting medical attention when they need it. What kind of situations do they work alone in? Is it part of their job, for example, if they're a delivery driver, property surveyor or maintenance worker? Or is it unrelated to the work they do? For instance, somebody who works remotely or likes to get into work early to have the office to themselves for an hour or two every morning. Don't dismiss those who don't seem to work in a high-risk environment. Without an awareness of everyday hazards like slips and trips, people can become complacent, which is dangerous in itself. Do you have more than one type of lone worker in your organisation, like someone who works on a help desk on a Saturday versus your drivers? It'll be important when you come to building your risk assessment that you factor the risk in both. How often do you have people working in isolation? Is it once every now and then or daily? By answering these questions, you can start to build a picture of the lone workers in your workforce and use this later to understand the risks they face and how to protect against them. As mentioned before, you can access everything we've talked about in this video in an article to revisit at any time you need. Next up, we'll be looking at the law around employee safety and how lone working fits in. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button below so more people can find this information. We'll see you in video 2 of our 6-part series on how to protect your lone workers.